I don't think social media began as something to capture people in an endless loop of scrolling. I think when it first began, like with MySpace or with Facebook, these were platforms for people to stay in touch with one another. They are platforms to find your friends, stay updated with them, see their pictures, see what's going on in their life, where a person could post directly to their page and their followers would see it. Um, that's what it began as. But what it is now is something where you have your followers, you have the people you're following, and of the content that you see on these platforms, a fraction of it is actually of the people you are following, right? Most of it is advertisements or they are popular videos. And there's even sections of, Instagram, Facebook, where it's just meant to scroll and find new videos. So what's interesting is the development of it, where if you look at Facebook, it was very much like person to person. Um, it was almost like calling your friend, I guess, but less formal. And then when Vine came out, that sort of changed quite a bit of the scheme or the landscape of it, because you had these videos that were like going viral, right? You think of like the Damn Daniel or the what are those? You think of those type of videos, um, and they were getting like widespread attention, and they were, people were on Ellen for having viral videos, and Instagram kind of absorbed Vine, and so Vine sort of collapsed. But that sense of a viral video was still there, and so I think the the platform of social media, while at first was a way to keep in contact with friends, it then became and has become a way to sort of like push videos, right, and to just sort of get in a loop of scrolling from one to the next about things that really, maybe have no bearing on your actual life, that are just funny or are, maybe mildly informative. Depends on what your algorithm is, right? But that term like algorithm wouldn't even have been present in, um, like early Facebook or MySpace. So it's an interesting development, social media. And I think like why we're seeing more of like content creators rather than just like direct friend to friend um, contacts happening on social media is due to us ultimately. I think the users, social media, right? Like in some way, the product of social media. Um, we we like to watch these videos. Videos get hundreds of thousands, millions of views, um, and they become successful, right? People monetize these things or monetize these videos, and that's sort of like what social media is geared towards, right? But the only maybe the reason I would propose as to why it is geared towards that is because the base, the product, the followers, are attracted to that style of content. So I think this is like a reoccurring theme in a lot in a lot of different structures, but social media being one that we're discussing right now. That ultimately, I think the users have more control than we believe we do have over this platform. So if we, collectively stopped viewing, viral videos, stopped scrolling, and wanted like more contact with the people that we were actually following, I'm sure that we could attain that, right? We could sort of bring it back to what, these original intentions of these platforms was. Um, would that happen? I believe that is ultimately up to the users. That's up to us. And what's interesting is that, I say these things saying like scrolling sort of is not what was the intended purpose of social media, and yet it is what has become of social media. And I say this as I'm making a YouTube short, which is you find when you're scrolling, right? So it's sort of it's interesting. And if you look at my videos, you know, I have a couple hundred views on each of the shorts that I've produced, maybe less than that on some, and then on the long videos that I've produced, there's less than 10 views, right? So the way to reach people is through making these like short, easy to digest, um, scrollable videos, right? So I think this is even longer than 3 minutes, so I'll have to break it up into two sections. Um, so yeah, just an interesting sort of development of social media. And yeah, let me know your thoughts. I appreciate you watching. Maybe we'll connect on a more real level rather than just through this series of short videos. So thank you.